Hello, everyone. Wow. Oh my gosh. So many of you are here excited for this panel. Um, here, I'm hungry. Hungry. Check these. They always cater these things for us, and they just sit there. So I'm gonna throw them out at different times. I'm glad. Sorry, go ahead. Keeping the audience fed, it's very important. One of our top priorities here. I have no control over how they go. My name is Meg. I am a creative technician at OHD Studios, and I have the distinct honor of moderating this panel. And seated with me are Alexander Elkins, a cinematographer for the 21 Pilots creative team, and many other wonderful projects. Good applause. All right, guys, you better clap really good from now on, okay? Brandon Reich, who is a graphic artist, designer for many projects. Nathan Bielski, a producer. And last but not least, Mark Eshelman. Woo! Creative director for 21 Pilots. I'm sure there's medical right outside there if I hit you with a bag. All good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, you guys. And I thought I'd kick it off by chatting a little bit about how you all came together as a team. How did you meet? How did this team form? Tell me a little bit about that story. Well, I met 21 Pilots at a really small show. It was in the basement of a show. And I just had my video camera and just said, hey, I really like doing this. And Tyler, the lead singer, was like, I love video and how it works with music as the visual representation of it. That's like kind of one of the driving factors. And so I was very privileged to kind of shoot some of those really early shows when there was like only 4 people in the crowd. It was really fun. And when the band got signed, Brandon Reich here was doing a bunch of band merch. And at the time, we just were like, who is this enigma that's creating these awesome designs? And he got to do it. And then turns out they were related. When Tyler got married, he married Brandon into his family, I guess, right? Unrelated, but yeah, totally coincidental. So Mark got in touch with me end of 2012, right before Vessel came out. So I officially kind of started. I think I remember it was 1 week before Vessel came out. I think Vessel came out January 7th ish, something like that. Sure. 2013 ish. And then we went to Max and Irma's. Remember Max and Irma's? Oh yeah. Who was Max and Irma's? That's not who I was aiming for. So yeah, so we started working, and at that point it was just kind of spruce up the brand throughout the Vessel album cycle, and then it would of course lead into Blurryface. But at this time, my cousin or my wife's cousin was kind of between Cincinnati and Columbus. Anyway, my wife's cousin met this guy named Tyler, and now they're married, and so Tyler's my cousin-in-law. Wow. Weird. And it's unrelated, but it's just coincidence. Nice job, Brandon. Thanks. And then we'll fast forward to 2014 and we're shooting this, or 2015, we're shooting this music video for Stressed Out. Ever heard of it? Okay. And my producer at the time was reaching out to a bunch of directors of photography in Ohio. First one said no. I don't know who this band is. Second one said, no, you're not paying enough. Third one said, no, thank you. And then finally I found Alex Elkins. Bottom of the barrel. Bottom of the barrel. So Alex, the first thing we shot was this little tiny video, Stressed Out, that who would have thought would get, I don't know, how many billion views now? Crazy, on the radio everywhere, always. And then I started working for some other bands, and I realized that it was really nice to do videos in Ohio where we all were. And I found Nathan was a producer, and I didn't even dream of, and he's a guy who knows how to get things. He knows how to get things done, Brandon. Nice work. Gosh, that's why he's here. Is the job of the producer. Yeah, so Nathan came in, and he lives in Athens. Give it up for Athens.
And yeah, so Nathan came in, and like one of the big heavy liftings that Nathan did was the Clancy music videos. And we decided to do like 12 or 13 of those homegrown style just in our backyards. And he showed up with the gear and he was helping me get stuff done. And I don't know, you've been very malleable, and just one of the things that I always look for in people is just like, what are we doing? Let's just do it. There's no barriers. Let's just do what we can with what we have. Yeah, I mean that whole process. It was fun. It was a pretty amazing collaboration. First thing we did with 21 Pilots was actually Choker. Was the Choker video. Really? Well, that was the first one? Was the first? No, because you came and did the live stream and shot behind the scenes with me. Oh, that's right. During the live stream. So yeah, so Nathan's
Didn't
been.
we do Choker before that though?
I don't remember.
It's the order.
You guys know? Does anyone remember the order of all the videos? Anyway. So yeah, so I mean, I think now we have just a crew of people that like I know to call on whenever we need something done, and it's not just music videos. There's so much more that we do together.
And something I actually just learned backstage here is that Brandon and Alex, you guys had not met until today.
Well, that's what we told
We're
you.
best buddies now.
Yeah, we're actually best.
Right here, everybody's leaving me hanging.
Oh no.
I felt you.
But I thought maybe this is a good opportunity to talk about how each of you plays a different role in the creative direction of the band and the storytelling. Maybe some of you are involved in pre-production, whereas others are much further in the process. So maybe talk a bit about how each of your roles is distinct from one another, and where your paths cross in that.
Mark and I work really closely with Tyler, and we kind of, us three, get on a Zoom, or before kids, we would get in a room together and all that stuff, and we would just exhaust our ideas and try to come up with just figure out where everything led, and that was like definitely the most creative, rewarding experiences I think we've ever had. Is those moments where what's crazy about 21 Pilots is like, when you're starting out in design, you try ideas. I'm a graphic designer. That is my skill set, my practice. That's who I am in this band, my role in this band. But you start out and you don't really have the audience to really show what your work can do. So it's really crazy for us to be able to design for 21 Pilots, and it's like throwing a match into this huge burn pile that's just covered in gasoline. And you throw your little match and it explodes. So you get to see like what happens when something gets amplified that quickly. Whereas before, when you're just starting, you make a cool little flyer, you make a cool logo or a cool merch design, and you don't really know what it does, if it makes any impact. But, especially with the Blurry Face album cycle, I think when we got to like, the Shot or Nationwide or wherever, and you drive up and you see all these people in black and red, and the neck is painted black, and all of this stuff, you're like, whoa. There's those ideas we had when we were with Tyler and Mark and the thing. And then you start realizing that, oh, wow, this gets really big. I've got to cherish this. I've got to be a good steward of this ability. Like, this stuff can get really amplified and really make a difference. So we got to make sure we know what to do with this explosion that we're going to create here. So I think that was my crash course into branding. I mean, at that point, I've been doing design since I was 17 for bands and stuff. But at that point, I was probably around 29 years old, 30 years old when I started with the band. And that was like, okay, you've kind of done all the prerequisites for this graphic design career. And this is what it's going to look like if your work explodes. So it gave us more respect for what we were doing, and it gave us a little more attention to detail with the stuff we were doing, because we couldn't really just throw anything out there anymore. Like, it actually felt like the stuff we did was going to matter, and it was going to be seen, and it was going to get battle tested out there. So the Blurry Face brand was a good proof of that concept, and I think it worked out pretty well. Yeah, and then specifically to Nathan and Alex, whenever it's time to shoot a video, Nathan's always the first person I call. It's like, okay, this is what Tyler and Josh are thinking. There's this tape thing we want to do. There's this, very specific brand that Tyler and Josh gush over to me and Brandon, and it's our job to kind of like translate it to video. And like I said before, Tyler has such a visual, like, just splatter of imagery whenever he's talking about his music. And so it's our job to kind of capture that and figure out what's realistic. And then Nathan just helps make it realistic. And then Drum Show and Choker, which you just saw before we came out here, Alex shot those. And it's like bringing him in and just saying, like, this is the references that we're bringing. Brandon and I grab a lot of references while we're on this Zoom with Tyler and just trying to really put it in front of us. The biggest part of our job is just to get it out of our heads. There's stuff in there that'll get lost if we don't just grab it and stick it to some sort of deck. And then Alex is able to come in and be like, okay, well, this camera's really cool. I like how this looks. This kind of matches that still that you pulled from this series, and just translates it all for us.
And then even beyond that, or like just at a higher level, it's trying to put on screen the truest representation of what you guys do, while also coming up with ideas of like, oh, that's great, but have you thought of this? And sometimes we'll have a very extensive back and forth with things maybe I pitch are cool, things I like, writing ideas I like, that are maybe not so adherent to the brand and the band. And so we have this conversation about, okay, what's true, what needs to be relayed, how do we make that better? And there's a lot of decisions that come up on set.
Yeah, and what's good about me and Brandon's powwow sessions and the creative sessions is that when Alex does bring something up, we can just say, oh yeah, that works because of this, or that does not work because of this. We have definitions. We have reasoning behind all of our creative decisions because we're listening and digesting.
Yeah, so I actually want to build off of that, talking about that listening and that digesting. Gonna pull out a deep cut here. Brandon, in 2015, which is more than 10 years ago. And
Good, deep cut.
Thank you.
Please eat the snacks after we're done. It's very loud.
2015 blog post, you discussed the design process for the Blurry Face album. And you said, quote, if it weren't for a rabid, obsessive fan base, all of this detail would be in vain. Dedication deserves to be rewarded. So I wondered if all of you could talk a little bit about how that philosophy plays into your creative process and how you have built on that philosophy over the past 11 years.
I mean, I would say that means nothing's in vain. It's not, you can get discouraged with your work if you think no one's going to care. Obviously, they're going to care, and they're going to have something to say about it. They're going to look into it. It's a lot of fun for us to leave little nuggets of story here and there. We usually say we've created a lot of pillars of story, and the fan base connects the pillars, or the dots, and the fan base connects the dots, whatever it is. But we know these things are true. And we're honestly kind of open to people's interpretation on how you get from point A to point B. And we do read and hear these theories. It is very important to us to see how you guys interpret these stories and this music and all of these messages and these characters, which makes us make it more of your story. So we are, we're 21 Pilots and So Are You is really powerful, but it's gotten more and more true as time has gone on with the story. So we're able to say now that, like, yeah, we've kind of written the core elements of the story, but the fans have very much written the story also. So none of this work is in vain. It matters. You guys care. That makes it worthwhile.
It's incredible. I mean, it's amazing that you've connected with so many people and made a difference in so many people's lives. I mean,
and it does make a difference in people's lives.
It does.
It's not a thing to say, like, we're saving lives. It's like, actually, I think you are actually truly saving lives. And when you feel that weight of that responsibility, it makes it all feel important. I mean, graphic design is not important. I'm not curing cancer with graphic design. But once you see what building a group of people, a mindset, hopefully an encouragement to believe in yourself, encouragement to be confident, then you start saying, like, oh, this is actually important. The colors and the logos and the fonts and all that stuff, it's not important. But what it's doing, what the big picture is doing is. So if I can create something that leads to a more sturdy brand that is more reliable and is a movement that people want to participate in, that's worth it.
It's an incredible philosophy. I hope that a lot of people can hear that and incorporate it into their own marketing, into their own storytelling, into their own creative process. Speaking of colors, she just mentioned maybe aren't super important, but in the world of 21 Pilots, colors mean a lot. You may have noticed I am wearing my Scaled and Icy Pink today.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, another one. Wow, I'm doing good. I wanted to ask you guys about colors, about red, about yellow, about how different eras have different colors associated with them. Where did these colors come from? And talk about how they help you tell the story visually with merch, with videos. Talk about color.
I think it starts off, Tyler said the color's red. That's it. Blurryface starts there. And then when Mark did the logo for the Vessel era, the blue was an exact inverse of the red. And of course, the red is slightly orange. It's Pantone 179. And the inverse of that is the light blue, which is Pantone 630. And those two are inverses. So if you just hit invert on Photoshop or your phone or whatever, you'll see that the correct red inverses to the correct blue, those Vessel red and blue colors. So we started with red, and I think red was a color of a villain. It was we had to, Tyler says he wanted to give his insecurities a seat at the table and give his insecurities a name. So that was where, at Old Bag of Nails in Westerville, Ohio, Tyler talked about, Old Bag of Nails, fried pickles. Tyler introduced us to the character of Blurryface, which is so amazing every time Tyler gives an idea, because it's like, okay, this is the first time you've ever heard the name Blurryface. And at the beginning, it's a pretty dumb name. And then you just like get to realize like this is going to have an identity. I remember when he sat there, he was in the theater room and he sat there, was like, wait, is the name of the album Trench? Remember that? Yeah. I remember that, where it's just like, that word, trench, that's what we're going with, the word trench, And then Scaled Nicely was based off acronyms and mixing up letters. Clancy is dead. All of those things. So there's been these big moments. I think I'm going on a tangent, but there's been these moments working with 21 Pilots where you realize the thing that Tyler just said is the first time I've ever heard it. Never heard the name Blurryface before. I never heard trench before. And obviously, when you hear the song, no one's ever heard boom, boom, boom. I never heard Jumpsuit before. But we heard it for the first time ever. We heard the name for the first time ever. Such an amazing experience. It's the greatest gift we've had. And anyway, we're talking about red. Red is a villain. It's okay. Yellow is rebellion. And then blue, we kind of get into kind of this other telekinesis world where we're talking about, well, we were sitting on blue, and at that point blue hadn't done anything. Yeah, we haven't done anything. Like yellow came in because it made sense with Trench, and it made sense with the look of the Banditos, and like it just worked really well with red. And we're like, we always had this blue just sitting from the OG logo, and so instead of exploring new colors, the purples and the oranges or whatever, we're like, okay, let's find a room for blue to come in. And it fits so well with the deep storytelling that we were releasing on the, Clancy's journal is talking about all these different things we were able to kind of like bring meaning to. And then I get really choked up looking back on the band's Instagram, and you can see the different eras and like see how true the color was throughout everything. It's like it gave us a tone to chase. And whenever we did work with other directors like Andrew Donahoe, or they were like, oh yeah, I get it. Everything's been thought out. It's detailed. It's not just like Tyler wouldn't say something, we just have to make up what it means. The reason he would say is because it meant so much to him. Yep. And it just works so well because, again, thinking about the visual of the songwriting process, all that stuff was true to him. I think Scaled Nicely was really, sorry, my watch just told me to stand up. Scaled Nicely was a fun departure because this was COVID time and none of us knew what in the world everything was going to be, what the world was going to be, if we were ever going to tour again, if anything was ever going to happen again. So it felt like a good time to like just exhaust everything, the strict guidelines that we had. We kind of decided to just lose our minds a little bit for Scaled Nicely because Scaled Nicely was sort of a hallucination into an alternate scenario or something like that, or we were being forced to do something we didn't want to do. And, you know, that's obviously, I think the live stream thing, I feel like the live stream planning, it was so extensive. We did so many Zooms a week for so long. It was exhausting. But it was also at a time with COVID where we were like, this might be what our job is now. We don't know if it's going to be anything else. So there's something about when we set up the set pieces at the shot, and they were like, you know, brownstones with a graffiti on the garage doors and all this stuff, all this symbolism. It was felt like such an accomplishment from my perspective, because it was just like there's that thing that we did when we were all terrified during COVID. And here we all got our masks on as we do what we can with, you know, what we have. And I just thought the live stream was such a accomplishment. I'm really, really proud of the way the live stream turned out. But anyway, all those colors gave us a different moment to fall into a different perspective, whether it's the villain, whether it's the rebel, whether it's the shapeshifter. I just think of outside music video usually when I think of Blue, or if it's just this crazy rainbow hallucination like on your dress. But yeah, that's it's been fun to play with color, and it's also been cool that people pick up on it. And to be able to come back to Red for Clancy and Breach, and already having a relationship with Red, and be able to come back and be like, this Red means something now because I'm taking it back and it's mine now, for better or for worse. So yeah, I mean, I think it's, I've also messed up. I'm allergic to nuts, and the only snacks I left for myself are almonds. So, man, I can do an exchange program after the set. Oh, never mind. Pretzels. I'm not throwing those. So yeah, I mean, and then also like to go into drum show again. Nathan and Alex worked on is we had that really nice red light that was strung up on the lights, and like they looked like little bishop eyes. And it's crazy to say all these words out loud because me and Brandon usually don't get to talk about them, but it motivated set design, it motivated his camera and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, color's just been so important. So I'm curious about this actually, because to me, drum show is one of those that covers all of them. It covers the whole gamut of the primary colors that have been established. And I'm curious, did that cross your mind? Was that part of the intentional bringing all of that together? Yeah, in the wide shot in the garage, there's all the cables that come out, and my fiance, Lindsay, painted these cables to match the Pantone of all those. And so drum show is about Josh driving home, you know, hating the place he left and not really loving the place he's headed to. And so all he has is that moment in there. And so that video kind of stepped away from the story in a sense where it's like, it's Josh, the musician, and so all those colors played, but the red being kind of the focal with all those textures. We knew what those colors of those cables needed to be because of our obsession with color over the years. And it's also a lot of fun to break out of the parameter. You know, that's almost like for all the work you put into the brand guide and the you know, the consistency, it makes jumping out of it and being a little more free with it even more fun. And I also think there's something refreshing when you see it. I would be against that in Blurryface for sure, ever stepping outside of that. But now that we've established so much story, there's this release that happens when we jump out of the parameters, which is, I think, subconsciously gives people a lot more fun. Just the drum show video is fun. Like, yeah, but it's jumping out of the narrow, but there's still a box we're working with it. For me, it's fun. It's really fun to have a box, and you guys create such a distinct, specific box. So my decisions on set, with what we do, when we get on set and I'm talking to Nate and Mark and we're trying to figure out what to do, in most projects, it's endless. Like, you can make any decision you want. And the question is why? Why do you make that decision? You guys have created such a playpen, like a sandbox. So when I make a decision or when I pitch something and say, hey, what if the moonlight has a blue teal tinge to it? It harkens back to what they've already established and scaled nicely and stuff like that. So it reins us in, me in specifically, and makes those decisions more intentional, which is like why we should do anything. Yeah, it's way cooler to open up a chest and play with what's in it instead of just walking into a warehouse and be like, what am I drawn to? So it's like we put the little chest in front of you and we're like, okay, this is what we're working with today.
I like that. That's a fun metaphor. I realize I have been slacking my job as moderator. I'm supposed to let you all know that we will have a Q&A session at the end. You can scan the QR code on the back of your lanyard to submit your questions. So you can submit those now. You can wait to the end. But keep that in mind. We'll have about 10 minutes for Q&A if you want to start submitting those questions.
Yes.
I would like to talk to you a little bit more. You mentioned decision-making on set and lighting and colors. Can you talk about what your role as a cinematographer, as a DP, is when it comes to telling the visual story after it's been through pre-production, after it's been through writing? What decisions do you make and how do you help tell that story?
So it all starts with conversation with Mark about what we're trying to do, what the song, what are the emotions that he wants the audience to feel. It starts with a lot of references. So we'll go back to existing art, lots of shows and movies and commercials and stuff that we like the look of. And then on set, then I work with Nate. We put together a package and a crew to technically achieve that goal. It's leaving enough breathing room and then leaving us enough options that when we get on set, we can make those pivots and say, hey, that's not working, or hey, we just thought of this other cooler thing. Again, but it has to have a reason and intention behind it. And again, all the prep work is to rein in the amount of decisions that I have to make on the day. So ideally, when we get to set, 90% of that stuff is already figured out, and we have that 10% left to play with and just make it better than we initially spoke about.
Gotcha. Do you have an example of maybe a camera or lighting decision specifically you've made on a project that has shifted something day of or influenced the way a project ended up looking?
I think the best example would probably be Drum Shows, so the most recent one in my mind, where we had a very specific set of references, and technically I'd worked out how we needed to be lit in order to achieve that. But then you get on set and you put two cars into a garage and there's not enough space and all these different things, start working out in little problems, and you're moving quicker and, not dropping shots, but making adjustments and moves. So I need to build in flexibility, which is the biggest thing. That's always top of my mind. It's like, yeah, you can script it out perfectly that if everything falls into place, you can do that. But did you build yourself enough flexibility for when things do go wrong? So it's like I'll work out writing plots and in relation to the references and in relation to the scout pictures, but there also has to be a kind of contingency of what if.
You're being creative on set, literally in the process of shooting.
That's the most fun.
Yeah, so much.
I don't want to be a robot and just do what we say. You set it up so that you can play jazz.
Absolutely. You find things as they come. I mean, a lot of my job as a producer is to manage the logistics, to manage a budget, to manage some of the parameters that are established, to figure out how to accomplish a task, accomplish an idea that is presented. Drum Show's a good example. Mark came to me and was like, how do we spin a car around? And I had to figure out how to do that within a certain parameter, within having enough money to be able to pull this off while we succeed with everything else that we want to do within this. To that question about writing, one of the, I don't get to be as involved in some of the creative decision making unless there's maybe a creative problem that needs to be solved. Overcompensate was an interesting example of this, where a writing gag basically filled the solution to this. And we had a stage in Columbus at the Athenaeum that was empty, completely dark, and didn't know what to do with it. And it was going to stand out as this big black hole in the middle of the stage. And we threw out the idea of putting Helios tubes, giant Titan tubes, as stripes across that stage. Well, that idea transitioned into almost all of the branding that went with Clancy. It was one of those rare opportunities that I get to have some influence like that.
That on-set creative decisions then flows back all the way around into the pre-production and into that story planning. It's a cycle that kind of reiterates. Very cool. I'd like to talk a little bit about More Than We Ever Imagined, the concert film that just came out. I'm checking my notes because I keep I keep thinking the title is Bigger Than We Ever Thought, like a synonym for
That's
the
a
same word.
way different movie.
I'm glad it is not titled that. More than we ever imagined. I want to hear a little bit about translating visuals from music video to stage and then back from stage into a film. What is that process like? How does that work?
Well, I mean, we were very ahead of it, knowing that the show was going to be incredible. I mean, whenever you play a show in Mexico City, it's crazy. I mean, it's just so fun, and everyone's really into it. And we knew it was really important to capture that, and knew that it was going to be such a big pillar in the band's career of headlining for 65,000 people. And we knew we just had to get the coverage right. And at that point, we've done the show quite a few times, 30, 40 sometimes. So we kind of knew what was the beats that were going to happen. And so it was just making sure we had the coverage thing. An amazing local team provided by Switch It. In Mexico City, the whole staff was all from Mexico on the live camera side. And another aspect of one of the concert film is we've seen plenty of them where it's just the concert and it's pretty cool, but there's not something more there. And so, you know, I called on Nathan to be a whole separate unit with Alex and another cinematographer to just shoot the entire thing from the different perspectives. So you have the fans' perspective of the multicam concert that looks really nice and looks awesome in IMAX, and then you have what's Tyler and Josh's perspective. And I feel like ever since day one, we've been like pretty cool about it, and like, you know, we only post like them like, you know, trying to be cool musicians or whatever, and it's like talking about the story and all that stuff. And this is the first time we're like, we're gonna put a camera on you during this 2-hour car ride and just go. And Dom Whitworth, my documentary editor, got terabytes upon terabytes of footage of them just talking. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I put the hard drive on his desk and it like broke the desk. It had so much, because as you add footage to a drive, it gets heavier. Good joke. So it was actually, it's quite the contrary. I had a blast going through all this stuff. And so we were able to put them in the back of the room and just kind of be very, you know, think about the person that's seeing this movie that might be only familiar with the big hits, and kind of show them that Tyler and Josh like are just so excited to do this and to translate it. And there's like a give and take. It's like there's people that are like, oh my gosh, are they still talking? Are we still in the back of this SUV? And we just had to be very, you know, firm about like, no, this is interesting. This is a perspective we don't normally see. It's a little break from the action. So when you come back to the music, it's full screen again. It feels bigger. It's like a nice refresher. And so we just had, how many people on the doc crew?
I think we had 13
people just
14
dedicated to just telling the story between the show and Arrival and going home afterwards. And I don't know, it was my favorite thing I've ever worked on. I was able to go to like a studio and like get it colored and mixed and like theater stuff and translate all that stuff. We're used to doing, you know, like YouTube premieres, and that's like kind of the end of it. But this was like a theatrical thing, and to be able to have my hands on all of it was just incredible. And then like, you know, Brandon comes in and he takes some photos Mason Castillo took during the show and turns them into this artwork. It's like we self-churn all of this stuff, and it's all like Brandon sends over version 1. We're like, okay, that's great, because he knows what it is. And it was another example of us working on it ourselves. We didn't bring anyone in to do it. We just kind of hired our crew and got it done, and the designs were done by Brandon, and I directed the thing, and Alex shot most of the documentary stuff, and then Nathan produced. It's like we had our guys that all knew each other, and it just was a huge accomplishment, and we all felt really good about that. One of the guys on the crew worked on Superman in Cleveland and said, I'm excited about this too. So it was awesome to be able to have people that are really excited about 21 Pilots work on it, that are from Columbus, that kind of just wanted that thing to be great.
Go Ohio!
Yeah.
Yay! Yeah, you can applaud for Ohio. Let's do it. So from a logistical point of view, Alex and Nathan, have you ever shot something like that before? Have you ever planned something like that? How is this compared to your usual projects?
No. Yeah, no, not especially working in a foreign country. you know, there's certain things when traveling extreme amounts of gear and people into foreign countries that become a little bit of a logistical nightmare. So it was very different. I've done some episodic, some narrative series that were similar scale and budget, but not the kind of movement and as quickly as we needed to do that.
And the only reason we were able to do it is because we knew fans were going to show up and support it. Like we did the theater run before, very small post-COVID, maybe kind of during COVID thing. And it was like happen.
That's amazing.
I was
Go
going to say
ahead.
the logistics thing, that all started with a series of Zoom sessions that we had initially, thinking, how do we capture this? We knew, talking about responsibility and not just the brand and the band and the fans and the experience, but we knew it was going to theaters and IMAX. It's like, how do you put this experience on a screen that large? And so we had to do some research. What cameras are acceptable? There's technical specifications, and you know, then putting together the package that you could travel down there, that you know could serve the purpose. Is it primes? Is it zooms? You know, we go through that whole gamut of options, create our own little sandbox, and then Mr. Magic over here works out how to actually get it transported to a foreign country. So,
Yeah, IMAX has a certain, there's a big list if you go on IMAX to their website of what cameras are certified and what is not. But making sure that we were able to have enough of the gear that we could potentially use or need in an array of given scenarios that we could anticipate
flexibility
in Mexico.
Yeah, build in flexibility.
Yeah, build in flexibility. That was the name of that, and how we were able to accomplish so much was with a small team.
That's incredible. I unfortunately learned about the film right as it left theaters, so hoping for an opportunity to watch it someday.
Let's just say don't worry about it too much.
All right, I'll look forward to watching it. You'll hear about it from me. I already asked these questions. Sorry, excuse me while I flip through my notes. Maybe throw some more chips. A question. So we pulled a few questions from fans on social media. So I hope if you're out there, you're watching, you get to hear your question being asked. I'm interested to hear about the collaborative process. You already talked a little bit about that between you guys and Josh and Tyler. But I'm interested to hear about maybe moments of visions conflicting or friction between you all, and how does that develop into the final product? How does that help you guys tell that story?
Well, I think I was thinking about this on the way down. Me and Brandon drove down together. We used Google Maps. So it's a throwback joke. The one example was overcompensate. And so when I wrote overcompensate, it was the beginning of this Clancy era. And I imagine we were supposed to establish the red coming back. And I had this whole thing where Tyler was going to walk out. He would be invisible because he had yellow on still. And then he'd go up to the top of the podium for the second verse and take off the yellow, reveal himself, put the red on. And Tyler showed up 10 minutes. He didn't show up, but we were about to walk on set in 10 minutes. He goes, I don't want to open the door and be seen in an old era look. I said, oh gosh, I was so in the weeds of like how to pull it off that I didn't realize that you want to be seen as Clancy as soon as you walk through that door. We don't even see him put the mask on. We don't see his eyes until he chooses to take the mask off. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. And like it scrapped 5 or 6 shots I had, but it didn't matter because it's much better to act on the feeling on set than it is to stick with what you thought the set was going to feel like. And Tyler specifically is one of those guys that knows everything about everything he steps into. He could be a director if he wanted. He could be a lighting designer on stage if he wanted. Shap, our lighting director on tour, has learned to lean into that because Tyler would come in and be like, this fixture should change, this fixture should change, this shouldn't be here. Why is that during that drag path? Why did it black out so soon? It's like sometimes Tyler will call him out from stage, and it's just something we've learned to really lean into. It's because it's going to make the product better.
Yeah.
Brandon and I talk about clarity whenever those decisions are made.
Yeah, it's not about, like with Tyler specifically, it's not even about friction. That's not what Tyler provides. Like, I think that, you know, if you think like, you know, getting to work with some big celebrity or whatever, Jared Leto comes to mind, for example, you kind of expect them to be a space alien, to be like on another planet, not able to communicate normally, just kind of like detached from reality. That's what you expect. And that probably is what a lot of these big which one of those starts standing out and has the most impact or whatever. And then Tyler can Tyler can come in and look at it and he can say, what we're trying to do on this cover is this. It's like, you're right, dude. That is what we're trying to do. But it's worth it to go explore everything to just reiterate the fact that this is the clearest version of what we're trying to do. And we always, Mark and I are always telling people that, like any project we're working on, let us just mess with it, get in the weeds a little bit, and then there'll be a time to invite Tyler in for the clarity. And that clarity that he has is profound and direct. And when you get to witness his clarity and his focus firsthand, you start to understand the success of 21 Pilots. And just like Tyler said, like Tyler would be an amazing basketball coach. He'd be a really good gym teacher. He'd be the best gym teacher ever. But he could do any of these skills because he approaches it that way. It's really refreshing because I think, unfortunately, in the music industry, you gotta work with a bunch of insane people, and you just have to kind of try to corral their insanity or their ego or their whatever. And that's just not the case with Tyler and Josh. It's so refreshing. Josh is obviously the sweetest, and Tyler is just the most focused. And it's great. They know what they want. They know how to get it, and we're happy to be able to make that stuff happen for them. So it's the opposite of friction with him. I mean, not to say there's not friction. He comes in and has, he can put the hammer down and really rearrange everything. But his clarity is so valuable that it's worth any friction that might occur to get his clarity, to see it happen.
Yeah, he's really into land right now. Yeah. And I'm just I don't have any land. I just have a really small plot. And he goes, well, you should probably look into getting this and expand this. And I just I don't want to square up with you about land right now because I know that you're going to go so hard and be so thorough. I cannot keep up about land. Can we just go back to whatever we were talking about?
Tyler is on a tractor somewhere right now in the middle of nowhere. That's what he's doing right now. He's looking at a tree line and figuring out how deep he wants to dig a pond.
Yeah, when he came over to edit the Clancy videos with me, because he'll sit drum show, he sat next to me next semester. He always sits next to me. We talk about it. We watch everything. Another thing, he could be an editor if he wanted to. He walked up. He's like, "You got some nice trees in this neighborhood." It's like, don't you have billions of views on Spotify or
sycamores? These are
YouTube?
mature sycamore trees.
Yeah, this is a nice tree. It's good.
So is this a sign of what's to come next? Is we should be thinking about land and
he's going to be an arborer is what's going to happen.
He's going to be an arborist.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, pivoting a little bit. I wanted to ask you each about an artist, musical, visual, anything, who is inspiring you right now, unrelated to 21 Pilots. Who is inspiring you now?
That new John Bellion record's really good. I'm a Nine Inch Nails fan all the time, just for the aesthetic and world they build. Yeah, those are mine.
I mean, such a big movie guy still, which is fun. So I love Greg Fraser and Project Hail Mary right now, and to see him just be able to just be I'm done with Batman. I'm gonna go do the Beatles, and what a great agent he probably has. But I mean, I just see so much stuff online. I'm excited about, and I wish more came to my mind right now. I should have prepared better, but I just get so excited when I see people kind of just doing their own thing. And I know that's kind of a big open-ended statement. And it's not profound, but I think whenever I get online, there's here's how you make this. 10 steps to make this look like this. This is how you make in DaVinci this look like this. And so I always cherish the moments when we were getting started, when it was just all feeling. This is a little bit of segue, not really an answer, but I love seeing people just I don't know how to do it, but this is how I'm feeling right now. And a friend of mine's starting a band, or a friend of mine's son is starting the band, and I gave him a camera instead of offering to shoot for him, because just go explore, figure it out. You don't need to know how to use this thing, but here's this thing. This is more valuable than us working on a video together. And so I get inspired by making sure, cleaning up my algorithm, and making sure it's just creatives that are just churning stuff out, because it's not all bad out there.
I don't know. The most recently, I think One Battle After Another is one that stands out for sure. Paul Thomas Anderson. He and Mark and I actually got to see it at the Vista when it was screening when we were out in LA mixing more than we ever imagined. That was awesome to see it in its native format. I mean, that was
Yeah,
the most
I'm
recent.
similar.
Shrinking. Anybody watching Shrinking?
I don't think that's what this panel is.
That show,
You guys got Hulu?
Those are the ones that are
We should add
inspiring me.
Severance to that too. I mean, Severance is I think for Mark and I as like storytellers in this, Severance gave us a very sterile way of telling a really great story about two worlds and the dichotomy between those and the friction between those two worlds. I think we're referencing Severance a lot in things. That one obviously blew me away. It might be my favorite show of all time, I think.
If we do a music video that looks like that, I'm all in.
Let's do it.
All in.
Well, where can we get a robot arm?
I don't know where there's a high-speed Cinnabot in Ohio.
Oh, this section's sponsored by Ohio HD.
OHD is actually a sponsor of the Music Industry Summit. So
Oh, okay, there you go.
Go look us up, everyone. Sorry, I just saw someone I knew in the audience, and I got really excited. Alex.
Oh,
did you
mine
give us
are
an
all
answer?
movie and TV show references as well. But I don't get to watch as much. I have 3 young children, so finding something new that's not like Bluey or.
Have you seen the Gruffalo?
Oh,
No.
The books. The books are great.
No, the shows too are really like.
Yeah.
Have you not seen Gruffalo?
No.
All right.
I've cried over
Enlighten
Bluey,
us,
but I've
Brandon.
not
What
seen
is this?
Gruffalo.
Gruffalo? No, this is now kids stuff. Watch Gruffalo.
The Buffalo?
No, it's just called The Gruffalo by Julia Donaldson. Their
Oh.
shows, they're wonderful. They're really calm. And then Dougie, do you know Hey Dougie?
No.
Anyway, when
Learning
you're a
things here
dad,
from
that's
my
kind
new
of stuff
best
that
friend.
inspires you.
Yeah, no, it's all movie references and TV shows.
I watch a lot of pro wrestling,
You do.
and I think there's something there with a band going on tour and letting every show be like a new update to a story instead of just like the show's the same for every city. So I'm always trying to incorporate something like that. What's the through line for someone that's watching from afar the whole tour? I think wrestling does it. You know, say what you will about the state of WWE right now, but that's not what this panel's about. But when I'm on tour, I think about how do you include people that aren't on tour, and I think that's kind of something that's inspiring.
It's a huge part. Yeah. All right. I believe it is time for our Q&A section. I'm going to see if I can figure out how this works. Now is the chance to add more questions. Scan that QR code if you haven't done so already. Oh, we've got a lot of good questions in here.
Brandon, remember that thing you were talking about earlier about the burping?
Yeah.
I'm fighting it so hard right now. It's the sparkling water.
When you grow up and become an adult, no one tells you how much burping there is.
It's a part of your
You're
everyday
just
life.
always like
At the worst
burping.
times.
You should have some
can't-
Coke.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Warm Coke, man. Warm Coke.
Warm Coke.
Warm.
That's the solution.
All right, I'm gonna ask this one because we actually chatted about it earlier. Someone here is asking about the Scaled and Icy live stream. You guys mentioned how that was such a huge, inspiring production for you guys. Is that ever going to be available to watch elsewhere?
We should probably do that at some point.
I still haven't seen it.
It probably should, but that's not been something. I mean, yeah, I mean that would be always something. I think we have so much stuff that we could present on a DVD or like a website or even YouTube, because we are really proud of that. But I do think there is something really cool about just these splash in the pan moments that live in a moment. But it is. We also all are about going back and remembering things. So I don't think that's very far-fetched to ask. I think that should be something we do.
It definitely got lost in the recovery of post-COVID, where it was like, oh, we are going to go back out on tour. Okay, cool. And then, we're just on to the next thing. So, and I guess Icy Tour really was able to was the triumphant return of things after that. So I think with the focus on the Icy Tour, the live stream just kind of faded into the background, but it's great. And I would also love to see it somewhere we can consume it.
Yeah, I'd love to watch it.
I'll design the covers for it. If that.
Wonderful, and I can point at the covers and say I met that guy.
Go.
what learning curve are each of you still going through in your respective fields?
Good question.
Well, I think that's the cool thing about a lot of any creative endeavor is like there's never an end, which is a stupid thing to consider. It's like you're entering a field where you're constantly chasing something that's unattainable, and usually that's, do I like it? Did I create something that I enjoy? Like, yes, does it tick the box of what this piece of art needs to achieve? But there's a continual like inner raising of the bar. So at least for myself, just speaking from myself, it's like everything we do, I'm like, hey, did that ignite something anyway? Is that cool? Do I like that? And with commercials and stuff, you don't get it. But with music videos, especially at this scale, it's constantly like tweaking that and peaking that. I'm like, ooh, that was fun. That was fun. Do it again. Do it again.
I think Brandon and I was talking about on the drive home, creativity, and we've not always been perfect, and we could have obviously posted way more than we have before, but I feel like we've gotten better at just sharing more and taking pride in what's being shared and like chopping it up and aligning it right. And that's been a learning curve, is just not being done when the piece is done, and like learning how to expand upon it and make sure people see it.
Yeah, there's lots of, I think that you keep the job because you're able to do all those formats and export everything perfectly and do all of that. Like, that's how you keep the job. You get the job because your aesthetic is unique and no one's ever seen somebody do something like you, or you're a really good, for me, I'll speak like, being a good designer is one thing and having a cool portfolio is one thing, but when someone actually hires you and starts working with you, are you able to churn the stuff out on time and do what you say you do? Like, you keep the job because you can do that. And unfortunately, the reality is, like, you'll see all these designers or artists who are like, from afar, their portfolio looks amazing, and then you actually get to work with them and they're late and they don't know, they're just trying to do their thing and they don't really care what you want to do. And so being able to be a chameleon and kind of get away from your own personal agenda on not making every project about yourself and this is the thing you wanted to do and maybe this project is a chance to do it. Forget all that. Just do the job, do what they need, and your ability and your value is going to come out through delivering for other people. And that's how you actually keep the job, and that's how you actually sustain a job. But if you come into it, a career being like, I have this unique perspective, and on every project, someone's going to see my unique perspective. Nobody really cares the way you want them to care. So your value is going to come after just churning work out over and over and over again, and then they start seeing what you are. But one thing that's really important, we were talking about this again on the way down, is that, oh wow, I knew I was just going to lose it right there. I was going to lose what I was saying. It's going to come back.
Must have been really good.
Now it's going to come back. Okay, this is what it was. What Mark was talking about before is like, there's this value to being a beginner. There's this value to not knowing how to do it and to using the wrong tools to do it, or to just do it with whatever you know how to do. Like, the value in that and the simplicity in that, the inherent simplicity is going to like create magic. But over time, you're going to learn how to do it perfectly. And I think as anyone whose job requires a skill, especially software or whatever, you need to figure out how to know everything about that software. I'm not saying I know everything about Photoshop, but I definitely know how to get out what's in my head on the Photoshop. And I can do that every time. But over time, you learn how to do things perfectly. And once you get to a point where everything's perfect, you realize how boring the perfection is. So that's when you want to like retreat back to doing stuff a little more chaotic and trying to give yourself a parameter or a limitation, or trying to do it only on paper, or like cut things out, or whatever it is you got to do. However, or with video, using a relatively primitive device to get the product. That's when you're going to start finding this magic. And those imperfections are the actual magic. And like Travis Scott is a good example where, as a designer, I really love a lot of what Travis Scott does, or what Kanye does, or what Post Malone does. All of those artists, there's this chaos to their visual language that is coming from either someone who doesn't know how to do it correctly, or someone who has figured out how to do everything perfectly and now is choosing to do things haphazard and messy because of that aesthetic. But it's so much fun once you learn how to use everything to realize, okay, I know how to do things perfect now. Let's stop doing things perfect. You know, you've learned the skill, you've got your A+, you've passed the, you know, you got the degree or whatever it is, whatever metaphor you want to use for the accomplishment, and then figuring out how to do things messy. I think that, like, I feel like with the breach cycle, I just wanted to be like, let's just, you know, I was really inspired by Tyler's gag on Message Man with the little seance and the black hands and all of that. It's just a very dark, like, sinister, cult-like thing. I'm like, let's lean into this cult stuff and let's really, like, you know, so for Breach, there's just a lot of weird symbolism that doesn't mean anything, but it is definitely like exploring these more rough, primitive elements that was very refreshing from an otherwise streamlined brand. So I had a lot of fun with that Breach album cycle because it was my way of being like, you know, we've done enough straight perfect stuff. Let's make things a little more weird. And I think we had Tyler and I were talking one time, I forget what it was about, but we just kind of like, I think it was the White Stripes face things, that. And I think, is it right? Thanksgiving was right after that. So something like that. Tyler and I were together for Thanksgiving right after that whole White Stripes thing happened. And I think we said, like, it's better to just be weird and confident than to be trying too hard and be unsure of yourself. It's just like, just do the weird thing. And there's so much more value in the unique ability. Because, like, we can all agree that White Stripes performance was both weird, awkward, uncomfortable, and totally awesome, all at the same time. And I think that there's something to that friction and that discomfort that those little masks created that are actually the gold. That's actually what you're trying to do. Like, you're not trying to find it is actually the key to creativity. In my perspective, is like, just get to a point with you when you're like, I see the imperfections in that, and I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it imperfect, and I'm going to believe in it and just be like, this is good. Because back when you started, there was all kinds of imperfections in your work and you didn't even know it, you know? So embrace those imperfections because they're actually the key to the really, really, really good stuff.
That is some fantastic advice. And it leads into my next question. This is going to be our final question. For, I guess, Alex, Nathan, and Mark, you guys can maybe give a brief answer for advice for creatives starting out in your field. What advice do you have for creatives, for students who want to pursue what you guys are doing?
I think I'll give it to you next, but when I started with 21 Pilots, it wasn't just about the video. I also was selling merch. I was trying to design some merch. I was just being there and I was being present. And I think I get a lot of questions about, like, what can I do to reach where you are now? And what can I do to further my career? And I always think, like, what can you do now? Like, what is the thing you can do now? Don't worry about too far ahead, but, like, who can you be helpful for? What can you create in your moment? What do you have access to? And that's really what I think is most important.
I think it's learning as much as you can about every aspect of the field. As far as a film producer, like, I'm paying attention to directing, I'm paying attention to cinematography, I'm learning about camera technicians, I'm learning about audio. Everything that you can do to parallel path will inform the next role in production. I think it's a necessity. I think it makes you better as a producer, it makes you better as a director, to understand, anywhere from production design, art direction, through every position on a film set. Like, I think if you want to do that, you need to know as much as you can about everything.
This mic is covered in cat hair now. I'm sorry. It's all over.
Similar to both of them, create as much as you can, learn as much as you can. And when you get the opportunity, like, personally, when I got to the point where I was able to call myself a DP, surround yourself with people who've been doing it much, much, much longer than you. That's like the fast track to learning more than trying to do it on your own. So yeah, create as much as you can and surround yourself with people who have already done it and can show you the failure points and the pitfalls so that you don't necessarily, sometimes it's good to experience it yourself, but other times you want to avoid that and just keep creating.
100%. Well, can we get a huge round of applause for our amazing panelists for joining us? Ooh. We are unfortunately out of time. I would like to let everyone know that the Dolby Immersive Audio Studio is opening on the second floor right after this panel, so please go check that out. And there will be an exhibition dedicated to the visual storytelling of 21 Pilots in Schoonover Center. It is opening at 5:30 p.m., the first floor of Schoonover in the Viscom Gallery, so please go check that out as well. And thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.